Hello, I am Anna. I'm currently the Bosnia and Herzegovina National Ecosystem Assessment Project Officer. I'll be presenting the status of pollinators research and related projects in Bosnia and Herzegovina. First of all, I'd like to highlight that in October 2017, the first trialogue on pollinators, food security and rural development was held in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It was hosted by the Federal Ministry of Environment and Tourism as the focal point for IPES in Bosnia and Herzegovina, was supported by the Open Regional Fund for Southeastern Europe, which is financed by BMZ and implemented by GIZ. This and future trialogues are important as they are fostering dialogue and capacity building across sectors and the communities of science, policy and practice. The trialogue was attended by 40 stakeholders from Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, Moldova and Montenegro, and they were representing all three BES-Net communities of local farmers and beekeepers, scientists and policymakers. The aims of the trialogue were to together frame the problems of common concern around pollinator issues, to generate new, innovative solutions, identify policy options, to generate a commitment to concerted action. And one of the most important things that was identified during the trialogue was the lack of scientific data about pollinators in Bosnia and Herzegovina. After the trialogue, a new research project started and was coordinated by the PhD professor of the University of Sarajevo Department of Biology, Mr. Adi Vesnic. The project was supported by the National Geographic Grant Fund and is entitled The Diversity of Wild Bees and Endemic Plant Communities of Western Balkans. The aims of the project was to research the diversity of solitary bees and bumblebees on high mountain habitats and relic plant communities of Bosnia and Herzegovina. You can see here some of the pictures taken during the field visit. Then to develop a monitoring program and action plan for solitary bees conservation, and to raise public awareness about solitary bees in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So here in these pictures, you can see some of the activities that have been done during the project. The project results were very interesting. About 300 wild pollinator species were registered and 1,000 individuals approximately collected. Now these individuals are stored in the laboratory for the research of pollinators of the Department of Biology of University of Sarajevo. The most common drivers, such as monoculture's use of pesticides and habitat loss, were identified during the project. The funds were used to purchase laboratory and field equipment, and all of this was used to increase the capacity for sampling and storage of pollinators in the laboratory. The most important output of the project was the Initiative for the Conservation of Bees, which has a developed monitoring plan and conservation measures of wild bees. The future needs that were identified were the need of a continuous, stable funding for research of pollinators, as well as the need to strengthen the professional connections between scientists that work in the field. After the trialogue and the project about wild bees of Western Balkans, the interest for research of pollinators is growing. So I'll be presenting here a paper that investigates the connection between invasive plant species and pollinators. It was published in April 2019. The important and interesting result is that a good thing is a longer period of flowering of invasive species represents a longer possibility of feeding pollinators during the cold days of autumn. But unfortunately, the bad thing is that then there is a greater possibility of spreading and survival of the invasive species. On this graph, you can see that in October, the dark green bar, the invasive species are flowering, which is good because of the food that they will get during cold autumn, but unfortunately these invasive species will be spread. Another project that is currently going on in Bosnia and Herzegovina is a national ecosystem assessment. Now we are in the second year of the assessment. We started in 2019. We have our project team, our team of multidisciplinary team of authors. We have done the first stakeholder meeting, the first author meeting, and now we are developing the first order draft. The assessment is made out of 6 chapters. The first one is the assessment contest. The chapter 2 is about nature contributions to people, or as we have entitled it, benefits of nature and impacts on quality of life. Then the third chapter is about the status of nature. Fourth, direct and indirect drivers in the context of different perspectives of quality of life. 5 is biodiversity and ecosystem services scenarios, and the 6th is governance options and institutional arrangements for decision making. In the chapter 2, in the sections 2 to 1, the status and trends of nature's regulating contributions to people, the importance of pollination process and pollinators will be described. In this section of the chapter 2, the relevant literature and the related projects will be analyzed, as well as it will be described the importance of the pollination process for the productions of other material NCPs that can be evaluated. Thank you so much for your attention. The Bosnian-Herzegovinian team is looking forward to new collaboration regarding protection of biodiversity and ecosystem services of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Europe, and planet Earth.